I was running the shop, last week we talked a little bit about the menu price labors. I think those are a good fit for things if you want to get exact pricing, like we had talked about a $49.95 alignment, but still be able to pick, 8/10 or whatever you want to pay your guys flat rate. And it worked really well for oil changes because you can use parts placeholders. Kits are a little bit different. Essentially, all a kit is doing is it's taking parts and labor and grouping them together so you can quickly select them. So let's go ahead and let's open up one of these repair orders. So if I add a reason for service, let's just see if, I'll just throw something on here. We'll get an oil change on here. And then if I were to click on the Kits button with the reason for service line highlighted, when I click on Kits, here are my kits in the system. And you do need to have a reason for service line highlighted here. I will note, this is a little thing you need to be aware of, that if you don't have a reason for service line, you would still have the kits lit up, but it doesn't work. So again, we need to go ahead and have a reason for service. Like everything else in the system, we have to put the reason on before we add the parts and labor. So let's go ahead and going back into kits. We can view all kits, or we can view only kits for a range of vehicles. And right now the system knows that I'm on this vehicle, this Ford F-150. It knows, see up here on the right, it knows that's what the vehicle is in this repair order, so it's only going to show the kits for this vehicle. Of course, I don't have any. I can also say, well, if I took out the engine, do I have any kits for just Ford F-350s? Or if I took out the submodel and model, do I have any kits just for a Ford? And here, actually, I do. I have, for this year range, I have a belt. Now, whether or not this belt's going to fit, this is just an example for you guys. But we can always put on more specific criteria. And we also have general kits. So if I click on the general kits icon, or radio button, you're going to see that we have these different kits that would, of course, work for most vehicles, like a transmission flush, let's say, for example. So by highlighting the kit and clicking select, what it's doing, it's giving me an option to select or unselect as much of this kit as I want. I can select the labor, and I could select the tranny fluid, the cleaner, conditioner kit. Let's say, we're not going to use a conditioner kit. And then I just click OK, and it's added to my repair order. So the reason why we use kits is it's just a really, really quick way to get your parts and labor put on there, number one. Number two, it makes sure if there's a bunch of components in the kit, my favorite is timing belts, because I used the kit feature for timing belts like crazy because there's so much involved in it with the pulleys and idlers and camshafts and crankshaft seals and all the seals. And so what you can do, what's really nice about this, let's go ahead and delete this and do it again, is like I said, you can go ahead in here and you can select as much or as little. Let's just pretend with this one. This is the one we want. You could select as much or as little. Now, when you set up a kit, and I'll show you this in a moment, you can say, I want my kits in the system to always show saved pricing versus actual pricing. And you can always switch back and forth. Say, I want to go ahead and I want to go at the most up-to-date prices on these, the actual prices, and I'll leave these as kit prices. So we can, you can play around. So you can select this and play around with this at the time you're entering it on the RO. But like I said, when you build them, you have an option to say save prices or actual prices. One thing I do want to note, and I'll remind you again later when we're talking about building these kits, if you change the time, this 4.4 hours, for a labor on your labor list, it does not change the time in the kit. The kit holds that for your make and model no matter what. So if you were to adjust it up or adjust it down, depending on your experience, it'll stick in that kit. So again, just something to keep in mind. I found that out a couple of times, that I would change how much I was charging for a certain labor service, and I realized in the kit it was sticking to the old stuff. So I would have to manually go in here and change that. Okay? So that's a little bit about how we select and apply it. So let's talk a little bit about how to build them. So let me see real quick. I've got a little interference in on the call. And you guys know how to hopefully unmute and mute your lines. Let's see, I've got a little background noise going on here. Okay, looks like that took care of it. Thanks, whoever did that for me. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this. So a couple things, of course. You can build kits ahead of time from Manager. Just click on Manager on the menu bar and click on Manage Kits on the drop list. And here's going to be our Kit Manager window. And so from here, we just click Add. Now, another really cool feature that I think is fantastic is you can highlight an existing kit if it's going to be pretty similar. Let's say maybe a timing belt, similar, but different year or different engine. We just want to change a little bit here. A lot of the parts would have crossover. We could just right-click and click Copy. And I love this feature. It's so useful. So then it would start the Add a Kit wizard. But let's go ahead and just start one from fresh. So if I click Add, I'm going to say, I have an option here. Is this going to be for a range of vehicles, or is it going to be generic? Let's go ahead and start with a generic one. So let's do a kit for oil change. I don't even think I have one on the list right now, do I? No, I don't even have one. So let's do generic for oil change. And the kit name, I'm going to put LOF, but this is what you search it by. The description here, this is internal only. You can put as much or as little as you want in here. This doesn't print anywhere on the work orders or on the customer's repair order or invoice. So this is up to you. Now, if I skipped the category, the system will be more than willing to remind me that I need to put one in here. So we'll let it prompt. I'll let you see how that works. We have an option in the kit. Don't update this kit when updating kit pricing. You may have a certain number of kits that you may say, okay, take my current parts inventory pricing, update all my kits. There may be a handful, though, that you don't want that to apply to, so you would select this. In an oil change situation, you know, I may say that because I don't care what the pricing is. I'm always going to charge the same amount for a kit because we talked a little bit about menu price labors last time. You can use menu price labors with part placeholders, or you can actually have a menu labor with actual part numbers, but it holds a set price. If you actually don't update this kit when updating kit pricing, you kind of accomplish the same thing. You can keep this kit at a specific price. So for this oil change, let's say we're going to do that. Here is where I mentioned, remember I said we can default to the saved prices or the actual prices? So in this case, because I don't want to update my kit pricing, I want to keep it right at an exact amount, I'm going to go ahead and default to saved price. Oh, up here real quick, we do have a spell check for our description. So once we have the description and the ID set up, we click on Add Labor. And let's go ahead and search for Labor from Service List. And by the way, when you're building these kits, you could always search from an ALLDATA Parts and Labor Service Advisor CD. You can also go out to a website and pull labors from websites. If you're on NextPart, I know they use the Mitchell Labor Guide, and I actually reference that a fair amount. But I'm going to go ahead and just use labor service from list. And let's put in LOF and select, just like you would on a regular RO. And now, same as on a regular RO, we highlight the labor line, and now our parts button lights up. So let's go ahead and add a parts from parts list. And let's just search by description, oil filter. So we'll just put this oil filter on. Here, just notice I have hazardous materials fees, and it's priced at $6.15. You know, I'm going to price this one, just on this one kit, I want it $5. I know it's normally $6.15 if I sell it individually, but for this kit, I want to get a real specific price. Let's take a look at that. So now what I have in here is, let's see, I have 4/10. I have $38 for my oil change. Probably can't get away with it. I can hit my edit button here. I highlighted the line and hit edit. I can play with this a little bit. You know, I'm going to go ahead and pay my guy 4/10 because he's going to do a mini inspection as well. But I'm going to go ahead and charge the customer 0.2. Remember, we could separate these. We could make it pay our tech a separate rate if we uncheck the link and click OK. So now what I'm looking at $19 labor, $5 for the filter, plus a dollar, remember, for that hazardous materials fee. So now I'm up to 25 bucks for my oil change. So let's go ahead and add parts. So I could add parts from parts list, and let's put in 10W30. So here, again, let's say I want to put in 5 quarts in my kit. And it's a little bit, wait a minute, this isn't right. I'm charging $6.88 a quart for engine oil. Let's fix that. We could say $2.95. So what would that put our kit at? $38.75, remember, plus the $1 for hazardous materials fee. So I'm at $39.75. So I may say, this is a good kit. I'm happy with this. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And it says, of course, here you need to select a category. So here it's a maintenance category. And this is for searchability purposes. We'll look at that here in a minute. So that's pretty much how we build a kit. And if we were to hit the generic kits, you'll see it shows up on my generic kit list. So any questions so far on how to build a kit for generic vehicles? Now, the other way that you can build kits for, let's look at building a kit for a range of vehicles. Okay, it's just prompting me to do a lookup. But I'm going to go ahead and click Add. And I'm going to do one for a range of vehicles. And here I'm just really going to have to pull something out of thin air because I don't really know of one off the top of my head. And I'll put my car in. I got 03 Saturn 3-liter. Okay, so let's say I know specifically for this vehicle. This goes 2003 through 2008, I think is all they had left, and click Finish. So again, this is specific here for this vehicle, and I always can change my vehicle here. If I can reselect it if I wanted to up here. But again, this is going to be LOF, and I'm just going to call it Saturn. And I can say oil change for Saturn, L300, or I could play around with that a little bit. And I might find out that it also works for some other, the other types of Saturns, the wagon, that kind of thing. So let's go ahead, since I know it's going to tell me. I have to select a category. Oh, and my spell check is turned on. Over here, I'm just going to say cancel. And here I'm going to select maintenance. Same thing. I'm not going to update this kit. I'm going to use my saved prices, add a labor from list. So you can see once you get the hang of this, I'm going to make it, unlink it, again, make it 0.2. Again, we all know about lost liters. We always lose money on oil changes, but that's just reality. And same thing, oil filters. And let's put this one on. And at $12.95. Again, I'm selling it for $5. And remember, when I change price in the kit, it's only affecting this kit. So remember, I'm saying saved prices. So I'm deciding to sell a part that actually may cost me $8.24. I'm choosing to sell it for $5. That's my choice. And this, of course, we talked a little bit about this in menu labors on our last webinar, how this affects profitability. What's nice about kits versus menu labors, and don't forget, you could actually always put a menu labor in the kit as well, but this gives us a real exact amount on our profitability. So let's go ahead and add a little oil on here. Let's put 5W. Yeah, that's what I put in my car. And we'll put that on, and yeah, we'll leave the price there. So again, I'm staying right here at my dollar amount. So I can go ahead and click OK, and you'll see that it's not, if I do a range of vehicles, I have to actually select that range of vehicles up here if I want to be able to see a specific, let me cancel, if I want to be able to see a specific kit that is for that specific vehicle. That's why when I click on this kit for a range of vehicles, it keeps prompting me, go ahead, Sabrina, put it in there. What's your vehicle? Let me see if I have one for you. So let's look. And that will come up with that one specific one. So don't forget, we're in the kit manager. So this is where we manage them all. Well, for generic kits, I can definitely see coming into the kit manager and building kits for a couple of services that you do on a regular basis. Transmission flush, cooling system, all your flushes, all your power steering flush, and that way you can put your actual parts in there. I'm a big BG products person. I've always been a believer in that. And so you can throw all your BG products in there as well. For example, I decided to make this a transmission flush with filter. so I added a filter kit as well, and then said it was for this range of vehicles. So you have that option there too. So let's go back to the way that I do a lot of my range of vehicles kits. And this is probably one of my top 5 favorite things in the whole system. I think you guys know about 3 of them now. If you go into a repair order and you already have done all the work to put all this information on here, this would be a little bit of a creative one, but if you right-click on the, okay, now why aren't you doing it here? Because I'm closed. Hang on a minute. Let's get another one. Nah. Let's see if, where's that one I did a timing belt on? Is that this one? No. Let's find one that I did all that work on. Let's see if it'll work on this one. Oop, unmatched. Here it is. On this reason for service, that other one was completed. It wasn't letting me touch. Remember, if it's in completed status instead of a work in progress or make an appointment or held for parts, it doesn't let you touch the body of your RO. But I can right-click and just select to make a kit from this reason vehicle problem. So now you'll notice, though, you have to go out of here. I want to find that really big one. Maybe it was on this one. Yep, it was. You'll notice that you have to highlight the reason for service line. Oops, didn't need to do that to get this make a kit from this reason for service. If I highlight the labor line, which kind of makes sense. You kind of think in your mind, well, this kit, when I add it to an RO, I have to add it to a reason for service. Why am I highlighting a reason for service? Well, because that's just the way we hold it all in the system. So if you highlight the labor line, you right-click, we don't have this option down here. Remember? We have to highlight the reason for service and then make a kit from this reason vehicle problem. And it pops right up and it says, go ahead, make it for a range of vehicles. I can select years, and if I know it's from 2005 to 2008, I can say that here too. And I can be specific. Do I want to make it engine specific or not when I'm building this kit? And then you just go ahead and click finish. And you give it a name, anything that you want. So in my opinion, in my experience, I should say, especially because the shop that I worked at, we had some really great import techs, European techs. So we did more Audi and Volkswagen work than you could imagine. And when you have these kinds of jobs where you're doing timing belts or you're doing some rather large jobs that may include a ton of parts, there's really no reason to not just do the right click and make a kit. The other thing that is really cool about that ability is that this is on an open RO. I could go back to any closed RO. So let's search previous repair orders, and let's see, I don't know, repair order date. Let's pick a date. Do I have anything on Friday? Let's see if we got anything in there. Yeah. So if I went into this one, this closed last week. So hopefully there's something on here. Open this up. Yeah. From a closed RO. Remember, it's posted here. Right-click, make a kit from this reason for service. So you're doing all of the work. Let's make this one a generic. It's real simple. And just click OK. Oh, of course, it always tells me, come on, Sabrina, do a category scoring system. So there's no reason why you wouldn't want to make a ton of kits. Now, I have this one user, God love him, John, in New York. He is a kit-aholic. He uses his kits for estimates. When people call him up and they say, well, I want an estimate to do a timing belt, well, he says, hold on just a minute. He jumps into Manager, manages his kits, looks it up for that one year, make, and model, whatever it is, whatever, I'm just obviously not going to come up with anything. But then he just says, he puts in this year, make, and model. He'll have a slew of kits for that vehicle. Now, a lot of those, actually, John made it up ahead of time, and I think it's brilliant. But he uses this as an estimator. So I just think it's really cool, so you're not having to go back and say, okay, I'm going to write a quote, start a quote over here, and look it all up, look up my labor times, look at this. And especially, again, for those shops where you do a fair amount of one make of vehicle, if you're doing a bunch of Volkswagens or you're doing, you're doing all Jaguar. I've got a Jaguar shop down in Southern California. So that really gives you some options to save you time. That's one of my biggest time savers, number one. Number two, make sure you know everything you need for the job is ordered. Because once you've added all that fun stuff to a repair order, I could go ahead and order these parts. Let's say I wanted to order these. Remember, we have this feature to go ahead and, I'm going to order all of these from Worldpack. And I know from that kit that if I do this job, I need all these parts. So I don't have to think about it, or my technician doesn't come back up to me and say, oh, shoot, Sabrina, I forgot that I need a pulley or I need a idler or something for this one job. And then we just go ahead and click Next and order it from Worldpack. And you guys know how it works. If I hit the Send Order button, I'm hooked up to Worldpack right now, it would really send my order. So talk about time savers. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop talking here for a moment. What do you guys think? Any feedback on that? Let me make sure my audio is working okay. Okay, I'm unmuting a bunch of folks. Okay, and I've got a bunch of people on microphones today. I hope you guys get a chance to ask questions. Let's see. Got Phil. Okay, so I just unmuted a bunch of people. Any questions on this? Any ideas on how you'd want to use this?
Can you use a kit in a quote?
Let's go ahead and take a look. Write a quick quote. Yep, we sure can. Highlight the reason for service and click on the kit. Yeah, that's a great idea. That way you can, like John would do, people would call up and they'd ask him for an estimate, and if you quoted them an estimate, and maybe they had something a little special about their vehicle, you could go ahead and save this. So it's right here, quote. Now remember, a quick quote, if you want to save it, you have to select a customer, a vehicle and a customer. So let's go ahead and save that quote all the way through. Let's just say freeform customer. I'm going to say it's for John. Oh, John Smith. And then we would put in whatever year, make, and model that vehicle is for. I just pretend. Great question. Yeah, so you can. So now if I go back to look at those quick quotes, let's look at that, what that looks like. Search previous quick quotes under options. And let's quote date. We'll use, because we did today. We just did it. Here it is. So I can bring it up, and when he comes in, let's say he comes in for the job, I just click OK, save, and I can make an appointment for him. Let's say he called me back, John Smith called me back, and I can make an appointment for him next week, or I can convert it to a repair order right here on the fly. And right now it's saying, okay, put him in the system. And he, we don't have him in there, so we go through the whole rigmarole of, adding him as a customer. And as little as much as you guys need to do. Remember, you don't have to put all the information. That's how quick we can get it into the system. And his RO is ready to go. And we can finish that work, the information that we need to enter in later. But now I have that ready to go. Let's go ahead and... Great question. Any other questions on that?
Hey, this is Bill from Carolina Mobile.
Hey, Bill.
When, say you're doing a timing belt kit and you haven't used it for a while and the prices update, like the newer water pump and all that you buy, which is a different price, when you put that in the inventory, how does the kit know to update that price?
Okay, very good question. When you go to, that's a very good question. When you actually go to order it, remember, let's go back to this Volkswagen. Okay, I thought I had another one. No, let's get out of there. Where was that Volkswagen? Because remember, we go ahead at this point, we can save it and order all these parts. And remember, we'll get this from Worldpack. Now, what we're doing is we're sending an order through, but when we get that restock parts ticket back from the vendor, those prices could be different. Because remember, we always say you need to double check. When you send your order through, you're good to go. But when you actually get back, let's go ahead and step through the whole thing. Click Next. We're going to save it. So when Worldpack guy walks in, throws all my parts on the counter, gives me my receipt, I go into Worldpack. Here's my purchase order. I convert the selected parts order. And I don't know what my target price is here. But I might say, well, yeah, my bill is actually 101 or 112 or whatever. These are obviously a lot of pretend amounts. Then I would know, well, boy, this is a lot more expensive than I thought it was. So, yeah, I mean, you would have to make a revision to your customer, and you would have to revise your RO because you knew that your part came back at a very different price. That's definitely an issue. Definitely an issue. Good question, Bill. If I come up with a better workaround for that, I will think about it. But that's pretty much what I would do, and that's where I would have to call a customer and say, we did a revision on the part. Or sometimes you just kind of eat it. Depends if, how much flexibility you have in the job. But that's definitely a fact of the situation.
One of the things I was curious is once you ordered the parts, received them into stock, and it showed that new cost.
I expect you to put that on the car with power brakes.
Updated the price in the kit.
Right. I don't think so.
The kit and then change the price.
Well, let's look at it here. So if we, so it's $59 for this timing belt. So let's go ahead and restock one. Grab a pen and jot down this number. And we'll do this together, 06B109119A. So it's $59.
When did we have the car in here last and rotate the tires?
Someone might need to mute their phone. I'm going to go ahead with this line highlighted. Actually, I'm going to double-click on it and click on the cost here, Bill. Yep. So here I can see the cost that's in the system right now is $31.47. Let's check this out. Because right now the system is saying we don't have it in stock. So let's explore this together because I'm not really sure. Great question. So I'm just going to put in a restock parts ticket. I'm just going to jump through here pretty quick, guys. I don't even know what that is. Let's do the part number. So it's 06B. Whoops, B. Here's that timing belt. So let's say we're going to buy 3 just because I'm negative by a whole bunch of them. So remember the cost was $31.47. Let's make it just $45. And let's see. Do I want to reserve it? No, I'm not going to reserve it. I'm just going to say we bought a bunch of those. And I'm going to post it. Put in my fake vendor invoice number. And then when we go back into the RO, see my check mark should be gone, but I didn't reserve it specifically for this RO, so it still says $31.47. So let me go in and reserve it specifically for this RO and see what happens. I'm going to go back in here. Oh, the beauty of a practice version. So let's go ahead, and it's still 45, that's fine, but we're going to reserve it this time for that VW job, Brent Foster. Check this out. See how this works. Post. Okay, so now when I go back into Brent Foster, well, here it's telling me the following items haven't been added yet. Well, here it is. Now my red circle went away, right? Because now it's in stock specifically for this one. And when I select on this, ooh, check it out. It does. So when we restock our parts specifically, and again, we can't just assign it to stock like I did the first time. I love working through and finding this stuff out with you guys, watching me too. We learn together. If you assign it specifically to that Volkswagen Jetta RO, it's going to put your actual cost, what you just paid for it, in there. So what it does bring to our attention is, look, we're now 24%. We have a red dot. Now, in all reality, you're not going to open up each part and look and see, do I have a red dot or a green dot? But what you are going to see is our profitability monitor right here. So if this goes into the red, if we were to go through here and let's say this water pump, let's say 84% profitability, wouldn't that be sweet? Let's just say this water pump was $150. You see this profitability monitor here? This probably would say, you know what, time for you to call your customer and do a revision. Yep. So the kits are going to get you in the ballpark, but that's why I'm a firm believer, and this took me years to get comfortable with this, but I was a firm believer. When I tell a customer, here's an estimate for the job, that's exactly what it is. It is an estimate. So if I call them and I say, we got it torn down, we got all the parts here, or frankly, the beauty of this would be hopefully to be able to catch this before you even start the job. I don't know. It's a couple different, you have to tell me in your workflow how this would work. But I'm the first one to call back a customer and say, Mr. Customer, for your vehicle, we ended up, the prices were a little higher than we thought. And that, again, is why we have an estimate.
Here's the reason I'm asking. We do a lot of Isuzu NPRs.
Uh-huh.
I set up kits for those and use Rotel-T. And Rotel-T here where I'm at, the price, it depends where you buy it, the price is up and down all the time.
Right.
I was kind of curious. We will have the opportunity to look at the kit before we quote it, but at least I wanted to see if we update the Rotella T price, how it's going to work out on the kit.
Okay, so great, Bill, thank you. Great issue. So let's say you go through and you ended up buying, let's say my ATF, for example. I know that my ATF is in a kit. So if my price, so what's my price right now? It's saying I buy ATF for $225. You guys would have to tell me. I've been out of it for a couple of years. I don't even know if that's realistic or not. So let's say that I ended up having to, let me change it here. I have to change my price. My cost is way more than that. Now it's gone up to $350. So now I'm selling this. I have to sell this for $495. Let's just say that. So we have an option under Parts Manager to, is it under Parts Manager? Let me see. It's under one of these update kit prices. Let me think. I might have to find that for you guys and send you a quick email on that. But we have an ability to update our pricing in our, here it is, the update inventory pricing. So this would update my prices. Great question, Bill. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to get back to you about updating kits.
Okay. I think you're right. I think there's a selection there where you can update the kit
they're
price.
going to try to steam it off.
Yeah, Rex, are you on the call?
Won't come apart.
I don't know if Rex is on the call. I can jump in here and save me. But I'll look for that. That's a really great question too.
Might it be under the manager, Sabrina?
Manager. Manage kit. Oh, update. God love you. Update kit pricing. So guys, it's under manager. Thank you, thank you. And this will tell us, do we want to update everything, update part prices? So update prices now. So like you were mentioning, Bill, if we could have said we don't want to update some of our kits, that wouldn't affect it. So if I hit update prices now, updated kit prices is complete. The ones that we checked with that checkbox, remember we had that option, would not be updated with this update kit pricing.
I follow you.
Okay. Okay, great questions, guys, and thanks for the reminder. Any other? So are you guys using kits very much in your shop? Anybody on the call right now?
We have specific vehicles, customers with oddball vehicles that we use the kits for.
Mm-hmm.
Some that are constantly coming in, like we have a limo company. We do oil changes on their Lincolns, so we have kits set up for each of their Lincolns.
Fabulous. Any fleet accounts is a great idea.
Right.
What about brake jobs? We talked a little bit last week about doing kits for doing menu price labors for menu items. Like remember a brake job, 189 or 150. I don't even know what they are right now. What would you guys think about using kits to maintain pricing for like brake jobs, that kind of thing?
The only problem I see with it, Sabrina, is that you don't know what your part number on your brake pads are going to be, depending on how
Right. Right.
capture the labor time and that kind of stuff, because that's all pretty much the same.
Right.
But the only problem would be, depending on the vehicle, the part number of the brake pads.
Well, absolutely, that makes sense. What if you were, just a thought though, what if you were to, let's open this up just for fun, and throw a kit on here. Let's do something that, well, this would be one I actually did a kit video. By the way, there's a training video on our website now about how to build kits, and it'll be posted today or tomorrow. And I built a kit and threw a filter kit on here. So I thought about this as I was doing the video and building this kit. What if you added the kit here and you just deleted this? So you remember we didn't have this flexibility in menu price labors? Just delete it and then go back and find the right one. And for me, I would just say I would do next part. See, I used next part all the time because I did tons of a lot of domestic, so I use a lot of AC Delco and here we go. So let's see, yeah, Motorcraft. So if I did here, so I could use that whole kit, jump out, get the real live part, and other than the price of the fluids, I don't have to worry about having the wrong price here. So I'm going to click Add to Order, Order Review, and then add it. So here, I actually used the kit, so I didn't have to change out my labor, my fluid, my BG products, which I use on everything. All I did was brought this kit over, and I just swapped out just the filter. So I was kind of wondering if you could do that for a brake job. That way you still have your whole, brake labor. I'm trying to think. It's not like you have a multiple of parts for a brake job. But anything else anybody could think of where you have like a regular service you do all the time, and it's got a bunch of different components. Power steering flush, same thing. We put in the BG power steering kit with the cleaner and the conditioner. I would essentially think any flush at all, cooling system flush, even if it breaks. How about this? I remember using kits a lot for what do you call it? Doing a servicing rear ends, servicing front and rear differentials. And I cannot tell you how many times I've lost the farm when I didn't quote synthetic fluid. How many times did that happen to me? I don't want to admit. And that's a tough one to go back and ask a customer to pay the difference because you forgot. What do you think about using a kit for that? Maybe doing a diff service synthetic and a diff service regular.
Well, I got a question, Sabrina, on
Sure.
using a placeholder part
Mm-hmm.
in the kit as a fudge factor
Yeah.
to build in a protection. And can you? And the question I also would double to that is, can we assess a cost to the placeholder part so that can be automatically
Right.
computation to our profit margin for a given
Profitability.
sale?
I think we talked a little bit about that. I'm glad you brought that up because that clarifies a little bit more about our last webinar, our menu price labors. I don't think for a part placeholder we have a cost, and I don't think you can calculate profitability because of that, because of course it's always going to look like 100%. So I just jumped into, let me start over a little bit so I didn't rush. Manager, going to manage kits. I'm going to grab this trans flush, and
Sabrina, I think you can put cost in for parts placeholders, just a little bit more of a roundabout way of doing it. You have to, trying to think, go back to like the adjustments or something, and you can put your price in.
well, let's
Don't
look.
you
So I
click
just,
don't you click that little profit margin button on the placeholder part? You're going
Let's-
to see what happens.
let's go there right now. So click on Add Part Placeholder. Okay, let's
Exactly,
see.
yes.
Okay, yeah, we can. Good work, guys. Thank you so much. So let's say, I don't know, I'm just throwing, actually, let's be a little more realistic. How much is it? $35 for a tranny kit, filter and gasket? I don't know, something like that. Let's say it's $18.71 just for fun. So here, when we do this, yep, we do get a profitability. Oh, interesting, we don't have a color here. And we'll just call this a trans filter, since we're just going to swap it out. So that's a great idea. So we're going to call this we're going to call this TRFF. I'm going to put F for filter, and I'm going to put placeholder. Let's call that with placeholder. Fabulous idea, guys. So we've changed the name. We've changed the description. This is going to, because remember I right-clicked and hit copy. So now let's try this out. Let's do a fresh one. Fresh victim. Highlight kits with placeholder. Select. Okay, yeah, we'll go with all of that and click OK. Sweet. I love it. I love it. And here, right-click and replace it with the real-life part. Well, there you go. Okay, I don't see why people don't use kits for everything. This is fantastic. Because there you go. That's what we would do for the brake job. Great ideas, guys. And as far as profitability, now, of course, I guess when you're still building kits and giving people estimates, that's still what they are. They're estimates, because once we get the real live part number, and again, I can replace this part, go, again, right back out to next part or World Pack or whatever, and go out and grab the part pricing right here. It's a great idea. It's a really good idea. In fact, with that being said, why wouldn't we do more part placeholders for jobs like timing belt and that kind of thing, if they're going to be more of a generic kit? But again, for people that are a little less, how can I say this, a little less experienced service writers, which I certainly fell in that category. I only wrote service for a year. But again, I have so much respect for you guys. It's amazing. But that way, if you have parts, I'm going to use inventory parts pricing, by the way, so it's changing. Look, it's lowering my price right here. But if you were to build placeholders into these kits, people would know at least, okay, I need to think about this. When I go out to WorldPack, or if I go out to Napa, or go out to the next part or IAP, I know I should be looking up for a timing belt, the timing belt kit, the cam shaft seal, tank shaft seal. So I only knew that just by, always bugging the service manager, what do I do here, what do I need here, or going out to my poor mechanics and saying, okay, guys, got my list here, feel like a waitress, what do you need for this job? And that's really kind of how I, cut my teeth on service writing. But that would be a really great training tool for somebody that had, less experienced service writers trying to help, or trying to, evolve into the job, learn the job, which everybody has to start somewhere. That's a great idea, too. What do you guys think?
Well,
Placeholders.
I think the placeholder makes it much more appealing that like the other gentleman mentioned that you can put in for brake pads, you can put in whatever, $75, and most brake pads are within $10 or $15 of that price or even closer, so you can get a quote out. You can get the kit on the repair order. You don't have to retype everything for the brake job, for cleaning and whatever else. And
right.
then just when you receive the part, replace it with with the parts placeholder with the inventory part.
Right.
And then it's good to go. So that to me makes it much more appealing than having to build either individual kits or converting previous jobs into kits.
Right. Right. Well, the only thing specific, and now that I see this, boy, I'm all giddy and excited about it. I think this is fantastic. And I say this because I was a big kit fan. I was a big kit user for, of course, all of our flushes. I built them for our shop because nobody else wanted to do the data entry. Any flush that we had, because like I said, I just would put the fluid in the BG and add the filters on later, or for power steering or brake fluid flush, all that kind of stuff. You didn't have the filter as an issue. Or, for tranny flush, some people just leave the filter in there. You can do that too. So that wasn't as much of an issue for me. But this last place I was working at, and I used MaxxTraxx, like I said, we did so much work on these Audis and these Volkswagens, and they just have these parts that are just, every system needed like 20 parts. It just seemed we did a ton of that work. And so we were working on a lot of late model. It's not like people were bringing in 10-year-old, European vehicles. They were all the same year, make, and model. So we did really get in the habit of going in and going into, and I would go and do a search. We would do, if we knew people had a bunch of Volkswagens, we'd go into these closed ROs. And in these closed ROs is where we would, let's just put a number in here. Let's see if they'll give me them all. You could just kind of scroll through each one of these and say, well, that would make a good kit. Just view it. Would that make a good kit? Yeah. Right-click, for a tune-up. So a tune-up on a Toyota Prius or whatever, again, this is just my demo stuff, make a kit. And it's right there. Look how simple it is. I could say, yeah, it goes up through these years. And I'm done. Oh, of course, I'm never done because I have to do a category. So you can see how quick that was. So it's just an option for you to be able to go through and build a lot of those because you also have the opportunity to look in the vehicle. It's another really cool feature in MaxxTraxx that we have, to be able to go in here and look up a part from vehicle history. So you can see, even if it's not Kevin Goddard's Ford Expedition, I could do parts from vehicle history to see if we've had any Ford Expeditions. Of course, this is a brand new, fresh copy. I don't have a lot of data. Then I could say, oh, yeah, here's the part. And I could just click in the column and then just hit select, and it imports onto my repair order. So that's another probably underused, and I'll be honest, I don't train very much in the beginning because I just get people trained on the parts list and then a little bit of online ordering. But, there's some other really great ways to add, and maybe we'll do a webinar on that and maybe even knock out some training videos on this. The parts and vehicle history is phenomenal. And you also can change your search. You can expand it to any other different year, make, and model. So you don't have to, if you're in here and you think, well, I think we did that in the 1996, and it'll work on the same year. And of course, you guys know that just because you're brilliant and that's your job. But you can always look back and see, what were I could also say, don't use the engine. Maybe show all parts of this vehicle. So there's a bunch of different things that you can do instead of just real specific. And again, that change search, I use this as well. Now, probably in 6 months, I use this maybe half a dozen times. I didn't use a whole heck of a lot, but I think it's a great tool, and especially if you get some of those big jobs, like you said, where it's a kind of a onesie, twosie, unique vehicles. But it's like, shoot, I know I've done that before, and let's say maybe it's a hard part to find, or maybe you don't have a catalog to find it. Like we did a bunch of 1970s stuff because we had a great carb guy this is 2 shops ago, and we didn't have a lot of databases to be able to go into and look up parts in certainly not labor times. So we could have, I wasn't using MaxxTraxx at the time, we could have used that there as well. Great questions today, guys. I really appreciate your feedback and helping me find stuff, by the way. I learn stuff every single time I do a tech support call. Every single time I do a webinar, I learn stuff from you guys. And hopefully this recording works out well, and we'll be able to post this on the website, because this is some great information that I probably will go back and add to our user manual as well. So I appreciate that. Any other questions today? I think it's been a very educational webinar. Certainly has been for me as well, and that's, like I said, I really appreciate that. I am going to send a follow-up email, and I will get it to you guys today. Sorry, last week's webinar email didn't go out till today because I thought I had sent it, and I hadn't. But I'm going to send out an email and would like everybody to, 2 things. Give me feedback today on how the audio worked, because it looked like a lot of you people on today's call logged in through the speakers on your computer, not the conference call. So please let me know if that worked out well. So far, I think, and I won't know until I do the recording, but so far I think the audio came through pretty good on today's webinar, number 1. And number 2, I'm going to go ahead and post some webinars for the next month or 2, but we want to start planning out even through the summer. So we're probably going to be scheduling the next maybe 20 or 15 or 20 webinars. So please do send me an email. Just reply to the email I'll send out to you guys shortly with some suggestions. MaxxTraxx, not MaxxTraxx, MaxxBucks, the marketing, the customer loyalty rewards program that we have. We're going to do a webinar on MaxxBucks. We're going to do one on marketing. We're going to talk about different letters, how to dress those up, and how to use the marketing in the system. Job clock, we're going to do one on that, probably one on payroll. So we're going to try to mix it up. Some more regarding writing service and some more about the accounting. So we're kind of covering both sides of the shop, both sides of the shop as well as the front counter. So let me know if you guys have any other ideas on that, and we'll go ahead and get those scheduled. Okay, well, if we don't have any more calls, everybody have a fantastic couple of weeks. I'm on vacation next week, so we're not having a webinar, but we'll get something scheduled here shortly so you guys can sign up. Probably by the end of this week, we'll have a couple more set up for the future. So if you want to jump on our website and get scheduled or get registered for that, I'd appreciate that. But we're just going to do a few. So if you guys want more webinars, we'll add them to the schedule, and we may even start to going to 2 a week. In fact, give me some feedback on that. Would you guys like to have more than 1 a week? And we'll break it up, make it more maybe business office accounting for one and more service writing for the other. So we're including 2 different types of personnel from your shops that could participate in those webinars. So they're for you. So let us know what you're looking to see, and you guys have a wonderful 2 weeks, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Okay? Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.